The ultimatum, Captain. Alina Vasquez stood before the massive viewport of Earth Defense Command Station, watching the stars flicker and die one by one. Each disappearing light meant another HFY battleship had moved into position, blocking out the ancient starlight that had traveled millions of years to reach human eyes. The irony was not lost on her. Stars that had shone since before life crawled from Earth's oceans were now hidden by ships that wanted to end that very life. Captain, we have the final count, said Lieutenant Commander Jake Sullivan, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. The young officer had graduated from the academy just 6 months ago. He had never seen anything like this. None of them had. 5,237 vessels, all of them military class. Alina nodded without turning from the viewport. She had expected the number to be high, but hearing it spoken aloud made her chest tighten. 5,000 ships, the largest fleet in recorded galactic history, all pointed at one small blue world orbiting an ordinary yellow star. What do we have to meet them with? 87 ships, Captain. That includes everything from battlecruisers down to patrol boats. Admiral Chen is requesting permission to speak with you. Alina closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. When she opened them again, her reflection in the viewport showed a woman who had aged 10 years in the past week. Her dark hair was pulled back in a military bun, and her brown eyes held the kind of determination that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. Put him through. Admiral Marcus Chen's weathered face appeared on the main screen. At 73, he was the oldest serving officer in Earth Defense Force, a man who had fought in the Titan Wars and the Mars Rebellion. He had seen humanity at its worst and its best. Today, he would see if that was enough. Alina, I know what you're thinking. The numbers don't lie. This is suicide. Then why are you still here, Marcus? Alina turned to face the screen. Why didn't you evacuate with the civilian fleet? The old admiral's smile was grim. Because I'm too old and too stubborn to run, and because I know you've got something up your sleeve. That Dr. Okoffer has been working on something classified for the past 2 years. Something that made the Defense Council go pale whenever anyone mentioned it. Alina felt a flicker of hope. Marcus had always been able to read her like a book. You're right. But Marcus, what we're about to do, ... It changes everything. Not just for us, but for the entire galaxy. There's no going back. Good, Marcus said. I'm tired of humanity being the galaxy's underdog. Time to show these bastards what we're really made of. The transmission ended, leaving Alina alone with her thoughts and the enormous weight of command. She activated her personal communicator. Dr. Okoffer, report to the command center immediately. It's time. Dr. Sarah Okoffer arrived within minutes, her lab coat wrinkled and her eyes red from lack of sleep. She had been working around the clock for weeks, preparing for this moment. In her hands, she carried a small device that looked like nothing more than a modified tablet computer. Captain, Project Prometheus is ready. But I need to be absolutely clear about what we're asking our people to do. Explain it to me, one. More time, Doctor. In simple terms, Sarah set the device on the command table and activated its holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the solar system appeared, showing the positions of both fleets. The HFY Empire has one weakness. Their entire military structure is based on quantum entanglement communication. Every ship, every weapon, every system is connected through quantum links that allow instantaneous communication across any distance. And we can exploit that, more than exploit it. We can turn it against them. Project Prometheus creates a quantum feedback loop that spreads through their entire network. When activated, it will cause every quantum-linked system in their fleet to overload simultaneously. Their shields will fail, their weapons will misfire, and their communication systems will go dark. Alina studied the holographic display, watching the red dots that represented enemy ships surrounding Earth like a deadly net. What's the cost? Sarah's expression grew grave. The quantum field necessary to create this effect. It requires a massive energy source. We have to channel the entire output of our fusion reactors through quantum amplifiers. If something goes wrong, if the containment fails, Earth's entire electrical grid could collapse. We could lose everything. And if we don't use it, then we lose everything anyway. Sarah's voice was steady, but Alina could see the fear in her eyes. Captain, I've run the calculations 1,000 times. Without Project Prometheus, our fleet will be destroyed in less than 20 minutes. With it, we have a chance. Alina walked back to the viewport, looking out at the enemy fleet. Somewhere out there, aboard one of those ships, was the commander who had decided that humanity needed to be erased from existence. The HFY Empire had dominated the galaxy for 3,000 years, crushing any species that dared to resist their expansion. They had never faced humans before. All hands, this is Captain Vasquez, she announced over the station's communication system. In approximately 1 hour, we will engage the largest enemy fleet in recorded history. The odds are against us. The enemy outnumbers us 60 to 1. Their ships are larger, their weapons are more advanced, and their technology is superior to ours in every measurable way. She paused, looking around at her crew. Young faces and old, human and the few alien allies who had chosen to stand with Earth. All of them afraid, all of them brave enough to stay anyway. But they have never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of when our backs are against the wall. They think we're just another species to be conquered. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The communication system crackled to life with a new signal. The deep, mechanical voice that emerged spoke in perfect English, translated by the universal communication protocols that governed galactic diplomacy. Humans of Earth, I am War Primary Kethan, Supreme Commander of the HFY Third Fleet. Your world has been designated for cleansing. You have 48 hours to evacuate your population to the outer system. After that time, we will reduce your planet to cosmic dust. Alina activated the return channel. This is Captain Alina Vasquez of Earth Defense Command. We reject your ultimatum. Earth is not for sale, not for rent, and certainly not for you to destroy. If you want our world, you'll have to take it. The response came immediately. You cannot be serious. We have 5,000 ships. You have fewer than 100. Your defeat is mathematically certain. Maybe, Elena said, her voice carrying throughout the station and to every human ship in the fleet. But you're forgetting something important. We're human. We don't surrender. We don't give up. And we sure as hell don't go quietly into the night. The channel went dead, leaving only the hum of the station's systems and the sound of her crew's breathing. Alina turned to Dr. Okafor. How long do we need to prepare Project Prometheus? 30 minutes to charge the quantum amplifiers. The process is irreversible once we begin. Alina nodded and activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Captain Vasquez, form defensive perimeter around Earth. I know the odds look impossible, but remember what we're fighting for. Every human who ever lived, Every child who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. Every person who believed that humanity could be something more than just another species crawling around on a single world. Today, we prove them right. The human fleet began to move. 87 ships spreading out to face an enemy that could have crushed them through sheer numbers alone. But Alina had learned something important during her years in command. Numbers weren't everything. Will was. Determination was. The absolute refusal to accept defeat was. Dr. Okafor, begin the charging sequence for Project Prometheus. Yes, Captain. Quantum amplifiers coming online. Estimated time to full power. 29 minutes and counting. Alina watched the enemy fleet on the tactical display. They were moving with the slow, confident precision of predators who had never known defeat. Their formations were perfect, their positioning flawless. They fought like a machine, following protocols that had been refined over thousands of years of conquest. That was about to become their weakness. Lieutenant Commander Sullivan approached her station. Captain, we're receiving reports from the fleet. All ships are in position and ready for combat. Admiral Chen is requesting permission to begin the first phase of the defense. Alina looked at the tactical display one more time. The enemy fleet was beginning to move toward Earth, their massive ships accelerating slowly but inexorably toward the small blue world that had given birth to humanity. In less than half an hour, the fate of the human race would be decided. Tell Admiral Chen he has permission to begin. And Jake, she turned to the young officer, signal all ships. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what humans are really made of. The defense of Earth was about to begin, and the Kethva Empire was about to learn that some species would rather die fighting than live as slaves. They had come to erase humanity from the galaxy. Instead, they were about to witness the birth of a new galactic power. Project Prometheus was charging, and with it, humanity's desperate gambit to turn the tide of an impossible war. The next 30 minutes would determine whether humans would continue to reach for the stars or be remembered only as another species that had dared to dream of something greater. Alina Vasquez stood at her command station, watching the stars return one by one as the enemy fleet moved into attack formation. Soon, those stars would either shine down on a free Earth or on the cosmic dust that had once been humanity's home. But they would never shine on a humanity that had given up without a fight. The countdown to Project Prometheus showed 28 minutes and 37 seconds. 28 minutes until humanity would either achieve the impossible or die. Trying, Alina wouldn't have it any other way. The humans of Sushan, the first volley of Kethva plasma fire lit up the darkness of space like a deadly aurora. Admiral Marcus Chen watched from the bridge of the battlecruiser Eds, defiant as energy beams capable of cracking moons in half streaked past his formation. The enemy had opened fire at maximum range, testing human defenses and trying to gauge their response. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Chen commanded over the fleet channel. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Our job is to buy time, not win a shooting match. The human fleets scattered like startled birds, their ships moving in seemingly random patterns that confused the Kethva targeting systems. Where the enemy expected neat formations and predictable military maneuvers, they found chaos. Human ships darted between asteroids, used debris fields as cover, and performed maneuvers that would have been impossible for larger vessels. Captain Lisa Wang, commanding the destroyer Eds Mongoose, took her ship into a spiraling dive that brought her dangerously close to a Kethva cruiser. The enemy ship's weapons tracked her movement but couldn't achieve a lock. Like trying to swat a fly with a sledgehammer, she muttered, pulling her ship into another impossible turn. Back on Earth Defense Command Station, Alina watched the tactical display with growing tension. The clock showed 18 minutes until Project Prometheus reached full power. 18 minutes that her outnumbered fleet had to survive against impossible odds. Captain, Dr. Okafor called from her station. The quantum amplifiers are at 60% power. The energy readings are extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this. Alina nodded but kept her attention on the battle. Admiral Chen's tactics were working, but they couldn't last forever. The enemy fleet was adapting, spreading out to prevent human ships from using their superior maneuverability. Soon, the HFY would realize they could simply overwhelm the human fleet through sheer firepower. Signal from Admiral Chen, Lieutenant. Commander Sullivan reported. He's requesting permission to begin Phase 2. Alina had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Phase 2 meant engaging the enemy directly, using their smaller ships to get close enough to the HFY vessels to exploit their weaknesses. It was dangerous, probably suicidal, but it was the only way to buy more time. Permission granted. Tell him to make every shot count. The human fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of running, they began to attack, but not in the way the expected. Human ships worked in pairs and trios, using coordinated strikes to overwhelm individual enemy vessels. They targeted specific systems, engines, weapon arrays, communication dishes. They weren't trying to destroy the massive alien ships, just disable them. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the frigate EDS Scorpion, led his ship in a diving attack on a HFY destroyer. Target their quantum communication array, he ordered. His weapons officer, if we can cut them off from their fleet network, they'll be fighting blind. The Scorpion's railguns fired in perfect synchronization, their projectiles traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. The enemy ship's shields flared and collapsed under the concentrated fire. The quantum communication array exploded in a shower of exotic matter. Direct hit, shouted the weapons officer. Their comm array is down. Similar attacks were happening throughout the battle space. Human ships, individually weaker than their opponents, were using tactics that the HFY had never encountered. They fought like pack hunters, coordinating their attacks and supporting each other in ways that their rigid military doctrine couldn't counter. War Primary Kethan stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his perfect battle plan fall apart. The humans were not fighting like a proper military force. They were fighting like ... like wild animals. Clever, dangerous, wild animals. Report, he commanded his tactical officer. War Primary, we have lost communication with 47 vessels. The humans are targeting our quantum arrays specifically. They seem to understand our command structure. Kethan's multiple eyes focused on the tactical display. The humans had only 87 ships, but they were causing damage far beyond their numbers. Impossible. Our intelligence reports indicated they were a primitive species. How do they know our weaknesses? Unknown, War Primary. But their attack patterns suggest detailed knowledge of our systems. What Kethan didn't know was that humanity had been studying HFY technology for months. Every piece of wreckage from previous battles, every captured component, every intercepted transmission had been analyzed by Earth's best scientists. Dr. Okafor's team had discovered that the HFY Empire's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. Captain, Dr. Okafor announced, Project Prometheus is at 90% power. The quantum field is beginning to stabilize. Alina felt a surge of hope. They were almost there. but she could see on the tactical display that the human fleet was taking heavy casualties. The Ed's Valiant had been destroyed, taking all hands with her. The Ed's Thunder was drifting dead in space, her crew evacuated to nearby vessels. They were running out of time and ships. All remaining vessels, this is Captain Vasquez, she announced over the fleet channel. Pull back to Earth orbit. Prepare for final defensive positions. The surviving human ships began to retreat, but not in panic. They moved with purpose, each captain knowing exactly what they had to do. The HFY fleet pursued them, confident that victory was within reach. That was exactly what Alina had been hoping for. Dr. Okafor, what's our status? 100% power achieved. Project Prometheus is ready for activation. Captain, once we fire this weapon, there's no going back. The quantum feedback will spread through their entire fleet network, but the energy requirements will drain our entire power grid. We'll be defenseless for at least 6 hours. Alina looked at the tactical display one more time. The enemy fleet was close now, close enough that she could see individual ship signatures. Thousands of vessels, each one powerful enough to destroy a city. All of them connected through quantum links that made them incredibly efficient and utterly vulnerable. Asterisk. All human ships, this is Captain Vasquez. Prepare for quantum pulse. I repeat, prepare for quantum pulse. Throughout the fleet, human captains acknowledged the order and began emergency procedures. Quantum pulses were devastating to any technology that relied on entanglement fields. The human ships had been specially shielded, but even so, the effects would be severe. Alina placed her hand on the activation control. Dr. Okafor, on my mark. 3.1. mark. The quantum amplifiers discharged their accumulated energy in a single, coordinated pulse. The effect was invisible to the naked eye, but the results were immediate and catastrophic. Across the HFY fleet, quantum communication systems overloaded and failed. Shield generators flickered and died. Weapon arrays misfired or shut down completely. The perfect, coordinated fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for 3,000 years suddenly became 5,000 individual ships with no way to communicate or coordinate their actions. Ships collided with each other as their navigation systems failed. Weapons fired at random targets, sometimes hitting their own vessels. It's working. Dr. Okafor shouted over the chaos on the command bridge. The quantum feedback is spreading through their entire network. They're completely cut off from each other. Alina watched in amazement as the enemy fleet tore itself apart. Without their quantum communication network, the HFY ships were fighting blind. They had no coordination, no unified command, no way to adapt to changing circumstances. Admiral Chen, now's our chance. All ships, full attack. Target their command vessels. The human fleet, battered but not beaten, launched their final assault. With the enemy shields down and their weapons malfunctioning, even the smallest human vessels could inflict serious damage. Captain Wong's destroyer fired a full spread of quantum torpedoes into the side of a HFY battleship. The massive vessel, its armor compromised by system failures, broke apart in a brilliant explosion. Alina knew that the battle was won, but she also knew that one threat remained. Somewhere in that chaotic fleet was War Primary Kethen's flagship, the vessel that controlled the entire invasion force. As long as he remained alive, the HFY Empire would view this as merely a setback. Dr. Okafor, can you locate their command ship? Scanning, ... there. The largest vessel in the center of their formation. It's still partially shielded, but its quantum systems are fluctuating. Alina made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Admiral Chen, I'm taking a shuttle to that ship. Maintain the attack until I give the all-clear. Alina, that's suicide. You can't board an enemy vessel alone. I'm not going alone. Alina looked around the command bridge at her crew. Who's with me? Lieutenant Commander Sullivan stepped forward immediately. I am Captain. Dr. Oak followed, then the weapons officer, then the navigation specialist. Within minutes, Alina had a team of volunteers ready to attempt the impossible. The shuttle bay of Earth Defense Command Station had never been designed for combat operations. But Alina's team modified a standard transport shuttle with emergency shields and additional life support. They launched into the chaos of the battle, dodging debris and weapons fire as they made their way toward the HFY flagship. The enemy ship was enormous, easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest vessels. Its hull was scarred and blackened from the quantum pulse, but it was still functional. Alina guided the shuttle toward what appeared to be a docking bay, hoping that the ship's automatic systems would still be operational. To her surprise, the docking bay opened to receive them. The HFY, like most advanced species, had protocols. For receiving surrender delegations, they assumed that any small ship approaching their flagship had come to negotiate surrender. They were wrong. Alina's team moved through the corridors of the alien ship with weapons drawn and portable quantum disruptors activated. The ship's interior was a maze of organic curves and bioluminescent displays, completely unlike human technology. But Dr. Okoffa's scanner could track the quantum signatures that led to the command center. They encountered resistance, but the ship's security systems were still compromised by the quantum pulse. Alina's team fought their way through automated defenses and confused alien soldiers until they reached the bridge. War Primary Kethon stood in the center of the command deck, his multiple arms gesturing frantically as he tried to restore communication with his fleet. When he saw the humans, his eyes widened in what Alina hoped was fear. Impossible, he said in his mechanical voice. You cannot be here. This ship is impregnable. Nothing's impregnable, Alina replied, raising her weapon. Surrender now, and I'll guarantee the safety of your surviving crew. Kethon's laugh was like the sound of grinding metal. You think you have one? This is merely one fleet. The Empire has thousands of worlds, millions of ships. You have accomplished nothing. Maybe, Alina said, but we've accomplished something more important. We've shown the galaxy that the HFY Empire can be beaten, and that's going to change everything. The War Primary reached for a weapon, but Alina was faster. Her quantum disruptor fired once, and the alien commander collapsed. Around the bridge, the remaining crew members dropped their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. This is Captain Vasquez, to all human vessels, Alina announced over her communicator. The enemy flagship is secured. All HFY forces are ordered to surrender immediately or face complete destruction. The response was immediate. Across the battle space, alien ships began to power down their weapons and transmit surrender signals. The great fleet that had come to erase humanity from the galaxy was defeated. Not by superior numbers or technology, but by human ingenuity and the refusal to accept defeat. Alina looked out through the viewport of the alien flagship at the stars beyond. Those same stars that had been hidden by enemy ships now shone down on a free Earth. More importantly, they shone down on a humanity that had proven itself capable of standing against any threat. The HFY Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. That rule was about to end, not because they had been conquered, but because they had encountered a species that would never stop fighting, never stop adapting, and never stop believing that impossible things were just problems waiting for human solutions. Dr. Okafor's voice crackled through the communicator. "Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from across the enemy fleet. The battle is over. We won." Alina smiled, looking out at the stars that had watched humanity's journey from caves to the cosmos. "No, Doctor, the battle is over. But what we've really won is much more important. We've won the right to keep reaching for those stars, and nothing in this galaxy is going to stop us from getting there. The war was over. The real adventure was just beginning."
The Last Resort Station. The emergency alert pierced through the usual mechanical symphony of Deep Space Repair Station Omega-12, causing Chief Engineer Sarah Chen to abandon her half-finished cup of synthetic coffee. Through the panoramic observation window, she watched as a massive vessel materialized from hyperspace, its hull emanating pulses of bioluminescent light that shouldn't have been possible in a dead ship. "Status report," she demanded, her experienced eyes already cataloging the unusual damage patterns across the vessel's surface. Lieutenant Raj Patel's fingers danced across his holographic console. "Ship's approximately 3 kilometers in length. No matching configurations in any known database. Biosigns are, well, they're all over the place. The energy readings don't make any sense, Chief." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Omega-12 hadn't earned its nickname Last Chance Station by handling the easy cases. When the advanced repair stations closer to the galactic core failed, when the automated systems gave up, ships found their way here, to the edge of human space. "They're hailing us," Raj announced. Audio only. A voice filled the command center, speaking in what sounded like 3 different harmonized tones simultaneously. The universal translator struggled for several seconds before converting it to standard. "This is Sovereign Engineer Xylix of the seed ship Amaranth. We require unusual assistance." Sarah leaned forward. "This is Chief Engineer Chen of Omega-12. We specialize in unusual. Tell me what you need. We have been to 17 repair stations. None could help. Our ship, it lives. Your species' reputation for solving the impossible has reached even our distant space." The translator stumbled over several technical terms as Xylix explained their situation. The Amaranth wasn't just a ship. It was a semi-organic vessel, grown rather than built, containing millions of dormant seeds from a dying world. A massive solar flare had damaged its biological systems, and now the ship's organic components were rejecting its mechanical parts. Most modern repair stations relied on quantum computers and nanobots for diagnostics and repairs, but living technology required a different approach. Sarah had seen that look of desperation in too many alien eyes, or whatever sensory organs they possessed, when their advanced technology failed them. "Permission to dock granted," Sarah announced. "Fair warning, our methods might seem primitive by your standards." The Amaranth's docking was a delicate operation. The ship's bioluminescent pulses had grown erratic, and its massive form barely fit into their largest bay. Sarah led her hand-picked team aboard. Dr. Maya Wong, their resident xenobiologist, Tom Harrison, who could fix anything with mechanical parts, and Diego Ramirez, whose understanding of energy systems bordered on intuitive. The interior of the Amaranth defied conventional engineering. Corridors shifted and pulsed like blood vessels. What appeared to be traditional metal bulkheads seamlessly transitioned into living tissue. Sovereign Engineer Xylix, a towering being with iridescent skin and multiple sensory appendages, met them at the junction of organic and mechanical systems. "Your diagnostic equipment," Xylix began, gesturing at their relatively simple tools. "Won't be necessary, at least not yet," Sarah interrupted. She pulled out something that made Xylix's appendages twitch in surprise. A simple stethoscope. "Sometimes you need to listen to a patient before you can heal them." Her team spread out, using basic tools and time-tested techniques that predated the computer age. Maya took biological samples manually, analyzing them under an optical microscope, rather than relying on molecular scanners. Tom traced power conduits with a multimeter, while Diego mapped energy flows using little more than paper and pencil. "Impossible," Xylix whispered, watching them work. "Our most advanced systems couldn't identify the problem." "That's exactly why they failed," Sarah explained, pressing the stethoscope against a pulsing wall. "Your computers are designed to understand either mechanical or biological systems. This ship is both and neither. Sometimes you need human intuition to bridge that gap." After hours of examination, the team gathered in what passed for the Amaranth's engine room. Sarah looked at her collected data, not in holographic displays or quantum matrices, but in hand-drawn diagrams and written notes. "Your ship's not rejecting its mechanical components," she announced. "It's trying to integrate them more fully. The solar flare didn't damage the biological systems. It supercharged them. The ship is attempting to evolve." Xylix's color shifted in what Sarah had learned was surprise. "Can you assist this evolution?" Sarah nodded slowly. "We'll need to recalibrate every mechanical system to work with the biological growth rather than against it. It won't be pretty. We'll be using techniques that went out of style centuries ago, combined with some things we'll have to invent on the spot. Other stations said it couldn't be done. Maybe that's why you needed a station that doesn't know what's impossible." Sarah turned to her team. "Maya, I need you to culture some of those organic samples. Tom, dig up everything we have on adaptive mechanical interfaces. Diego, start calculating power requirements for a controlled evolution. We've got work to do." As her team dispersed, Sarah caught Xylix studying their primitive tools with new interest. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson. Sometimes the simplest solutions required the most advanced thinking. The repair of the Amaranth was about to become a testament to human ingenuity, and a reminder that in the vast expanse of space, the ability to think differently might be the most advanced technology of all. The ship that shouldn't exist. 26 hours into the Amaranth repair operation, Sarah Chen stood in Omega-12's main laboratory, surrounded by an array of improvised equipment. The station's original diagnostic systems had been temporarily dismantled, replaced by a hybrid network that looked more like a mad scientist's workshop than a modern repair facility. Dr. Maya Wong hunched over a modified microscope, its base connected to what appeared to be repurposed kitchen appliances. "Chief, you need to see this," she called out, not looking up from her work. "The ship's biological components aren't just growing, they're learning." Sarah moved to the microscope, watching as living metal crystals formed intricate patterns under the lens. Each crystal seemed to pulse with its own rhythm, yet somehow maintained perfect synchronization with its neighbors. "Like a neural network," she mused, "but made of living metal." "Exactly," Maya confirmed, adjusting the magnification. "Which explains why standard repair protocols failed. You can't fix something like this with nanobots. They'd be rejected like hostile antibodies." The laboratory door hissed open as Tom Harrison entered, his usual pristine uniform now stained with an iridescent fluid. "We've got another problem," he announced, holding up a tablet displaying rapidly changing equations. "The mechanical systems aren't just integrated with the biological components, they're quantum entangled with them." Sovereign engineer Xylix, who had been silently observing their work, emanated waves of distress that made the air shimmer. "This should not be possible. Our records indicate the quantum integration protocols were a theoretical concept, never successfully implemented." Sarah's mind raced through the implications. Unless your ship didn't just evolve, it invented. The solar flare must have triggered some kind of accelerated technological evolution. She turned to Diego Ramirez, who was sketching complex energy patterns on an old-fashioned whiteboard. "Diego, what are those power fluctuations telling us?" Diego stepped back from his drawings, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "It's like watching a child learn to walk, Chief. The ship is testing new configurations, failing, adapting, trying again. But here's the crazy part. It's using principles that shouldn't work together. Quantum mechanics at a macro scale, biological processes that defy thermodynamics. A ship that breaks the rules, Sarah murmured. No wonder the automated repair stations couldn't handle it. They're programmed to follow rules, not break them. Xylix's color patterns shifted rapidly. Our species has always relied on technological progression, each advancement building logically upon the last. This is chaos. Not chaos, Sarah corrected, moving to the whiteboard. Innovation. Humans have a long history of making impossible things work by ignoring what everyone else thinks is impossible. She began sketching alongside Diego's calculations. Look at these energy patterns. They're not random. They're following a form of logic we haven't discovered yet. Tom peered at the drawings, like someone handed Stone Age tools to a quantum physicist and said, "Make it work." Exactly. Sarah snapped her fingers. We've been trying to understand this ship using existing principles. Instead, we need to learn its language. She turned to her team. Maya, keep tracking those crystal formations. Tom, start mapping every quantum connection you can find, no matter how impossible they seem. Diego, I want power distribution models for systems we've never seen before. And what will you do, Chief Engineer? Xylix inquired. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. I'm going to teach your ship how to communicate with us. It's trying to tell us something. We just haven't been listening the right way. The next 12 hours transformed Omega 12's repair bay into something that would have made any modern engineer recoil in horror. Cutting-edge diagnostic equipment sat next to jury-rigged sensors built from spare parts. Maya's biological samples were being analyzed by both quantum computers and simple chemical tests. Tom had created an interface that somehow translated quantum states into visual patterns using technology that belonged in a museum. But it was working. Slowly, methodically, they began to understand the Amaranth's new language. The ship hadn't just been damaged, it had experienced an evolutionary leap. The solar flare had acted as a catalyst, forcing centuries of potential development into a few devastating moments. It's beautiful, Maya whispered, watching as a holographic display showed the interplay between biological and mechanical systems. The ship isn't fighting itself anymore. It's becoming something entirely new. Sarah nodded, studying the patterns. And now we know why it came to us. Modern repair stations would have tried to force it back to its original state. Sometimes you need human stubbornness to recognize when breaking the rules is exactly what's needed. A sudden alarm blared through the station. Diego's eyes widened as he checked the readings. Chief, the quantum entanglement is spreading. It's not just affecting the ship's systems anymore. It's reaching out to our repair equipment. Sarah felt a smile spread across her face. No, she corrected, watching as impossible patterns danced across their screens. It's not reaching out to our equipment. It's teaching us. The Amaranth wasn't just a patient in need of repair. It was about to become humanity's gateway to an entirely new understanding of what was possible when you stopped believing in impossible things. Human ingenuity unleashed. On the 8th day of the Amaranth project, Sarah Chen found herself standing in what had once been Omega 12's primary repair bay. The space had transformed into something that defied conventional engineering principles. Crystalline growths from the Amaranth had merged with human equipment, creating interfaces that shouldn't exist. The air itself seemed to pulse with possibility. Status report, she called out, watching as iridescent patterns rippled across the modified sensors. The quantum biological merger has stabilized. Diego reported, his hands dancing across a console that was part standard equipment, part crystalline growth. We're seeing efficiency ratings that break every known law of thermodynamics. Maya emerged from a forest of hybrid monitoring equipment, her eyes bright with excitement. The crystal matrices are fully integrated with our systems now. They're not just accepting our repairs, they're improving them. Word had spread through the galaxy. In the past 48 hours, 17 different alien vessels had arrived at Omega 12, each carrying observers from various species engineering councils. They watched from the observation deck, their expressions ranging from disbelief to wonder as human engineers worked with technology that should have been beyond their comprehension. Impossible, a Thraxian observer muttered, their crystalline form vibrating with agitation. Your species hasn't even mastered basic quantum engineering. How are you controlling these systems? We're not controlling them, Sarah explained, not looking up from her work. We're collaborating with them. There's a difference. Tom approached, carrying what looked like a hybrid between a tricorder and a garden trowel. Chief, you need to see this. The integration protocols we developed. They're not just working on the Amaranth anymore. He held up his jury-rigged device. Where standard equipment would have shown technical readouts, this displayed something closer to a living painting. Energy flows and quantum states merged into patterns that seemed to pulse with their own intelligence. It's spreading, Sarah realized. The Amaranth isn't just accepting our repairs. It's teaching us how to evolve our own technology. The observation deck erupted in concerned murmurs. A hexapod engineer prime stepped forward, their multiple appendages gesturing in agitation. This violates all known technological progression models. You cannot simply skip centuries of development. Actually, Diego interrupted. That's exactly what humans have been doing throughout our history. We didn't wait to fully understand electricity before we started using it. We didn't master planetary engineering before reaching for the stars. Sarah nodded, a memory surfacing from her academy days. There's an old Earth saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come when you don't know something's supposed to be impossible. A new alarm sounded, but this one was different, almost musical. The crystalline growths throughout the repair bay pulsed in harmony with it. Maya's eyes widened as she checked her readings. Chief, the Amaranth's core systems are singing. The quantum harmonics are synchronizing with every piece of technology in range. It's like it's trying to teach us its language. Sarah felt a smile spread across her face. No, it's simpler than that. It's showing us what we've known all along but we're afraid to try. Technology doesn't have to follow a linear path. Evolution doesn't have to take millennia. The observers watched in stunned silence as Sarah's team began implementing what they'd learned. Traditional repair tools were modified with crystalline interfaces. Diagnostic systems were rebuilt to process both quantum and classical data simultaneously. The line between operator and equipment began to blur in ways that should have been terrifying, but instead felt natural. This is why the Amaranth came to us, Sarah explained to the gathered observers. Not because we're the most advanced, but because we're willing to take leaps that others consider reckless. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt, to try the impossible, to learn from anything and everything around us. Diego looked up from his console, his expression a mix of awe and understanding. Chief, the energy patterns. They're not random mutations anymore. The ship is deliberately guiding its own evolution, and it's bringing our technology along with it. Because it recognized something in us, Sarah realized. The same drive to evolve, to exceed limitations, to become more than we were designed to be. The repair bay had become more than a repair facility. It was becoming a crucible of transformation, where human ingenuity and alien technology merged to create something entirely new. The observers could only watch as humanity once again proved that sometimes the greatest advances come not from following the rules, but from having the courage to break them. As the Amaranth systems continued to harmonize with their modified equipment, Sarah knew they were witnessing more than just a repair operation. They were participating in the birth of a new era in galactic engineering, one where human creativity and alien technology would together redefine what was possible. A new understanding. 2 weeks after the Amaranth's arrival, Omega 12 had become unrecognizable. The station's repair facilities had evolved into a hybrid workspace where organic technology merged seamlessly with human innovation. The observation deck, once filled with skeptical aliens, now hosted engineers from across the galaxy who had come not to observe, but to learn. Sarah Chen stood in the central control room, watching as her team conducted what they'd started calling impossible repairs on 3 different alien vessels simultaneously. The methods they'd developed while working on the Amaranth had proven adaptable to almost any technological problem. Engineering Council transmission coming in. Raj announced, his station now augmented with crystalline interfaces that pulsed with each incoming signal. The main screen activated, displaying representatives from 17 different spacefaring species. Their chief speaker, a meridian with flowing energy patterns across their form, addressed Sarah directly. Chief Engineer Chen, the Council has reviewed the data from your recent operations. The results are unprecedented. You've achieved repair success rates that exceed our most advanced automated systems. Sarah nodded, noting how the crystal growths throughout the station seemed to resonate with the transmission. We've learned that technology isn't just about advancement, it's about understanding. Sometimes the simplest approaches yield the most profound results. But your methods violate centuries of established engineering principles. A quantum mind collective interrupted, their holographic form flickering with agitation. You're combining technologies that should be incompatible, creating interfaces that shouldn't function. Yet they do function. Diego stepped forward, holding up one of their hybrid diagnostic tools. Because we stopped asking whether they should work and started figuring out how to make them work. The council chambers erupted in overlapping discussions. Sarah waited patiently as species that had been engineering spacefaring vessels for millennia tried to reconcile human innovation with their established beliefs. Show them, Sarah said quietly to her team. Maya activated their main display, revealing the 3-dimensional model of their latest breakthrough. It showed how they'd adapted the Amaranth's quantum biological principles to enhance conventional technology. Simple mechanical systems merged with living crystals, creating solutions that were both more advanced and more reliable than purely synthetic alternatives. This is why the Amaranth chose us, Sarah explained. Not because we're the most advanced, but because we understand something fundamental about technology that others have forgotten. Every tool, every machine, every piece of equipment is just an extension of its user. When you stop treating technology as something separate from yourself, you start seeing possibilities instead of limitations. Tom brought up footage from their recent repairs. It showed human engineers using tools that looked primitive by galactic standards, but achieving results that advanced AI systems couldn't match. We're not ignoring scientific principles, he explained. We're just willing to question them when necessary. The council chambers fell silent as they watched a human engineer repair a quantum drive using a combination of crystal resonance and what appeared to be ordinary mechanical tools. The repair should have been impossible, yet it worked perfectly. Your species, the Meridian speaker said slowly, has achieved in weeks what our automated systems failed to accomplish in centuries. How? Because we never forgot our roots, Sarah answered. Every advanced technology started as a simple idea. When you rely too heavily on automation, you lose that fundamental understanding. Humans have always been toolmakers, problem solvers. We don't just use technology. We adapt it, improve it, make it our own. Diego pulled up another display, showing how they'd modified their repair bay to work with the crystal technologies. Look at how we integrated the new systems. We didn't replace our old tools. We enhanced them. Every piece of equipment in this station carries the history of human engineering, from the simplest wrench to the most advanced quantum sensor. The crystal growths throughout the station pulsed in harmony with his words, as if emphasizing the point. What had started as alien technology had become something new, a synthesis of human ingenuity and advanced alien engineering. The Council has reached a decision, the Meridian announced. We are officially recognizing human engineering principles as a distinct and valid branch of galactic technology. Furthermore, we request that Omega-12 be designated as a training center for this new discipline. Sarah felt a smile spread across her face as she watched her team's reactions. They had done more than fix impossible problems. They had changed how an entire galaxy thought about technology. "We accept," she said simply, "on one condition. Every engineer who comes here must be willing to learn not just our techniques, but our way of thinking. Sometimes the most advanced solution is understanding the basics." As the council transmitted their agreement, Sarah looked around at her transformed repair station. Omega 12 had become more than a last resort for desperate ships. It was becoming the birthplace of a new era in galactic engineering, where human creativity and alien technology would together redefine the possible. The galaxy's mechanics. 6 months after the Amaranth's historic repair, Omega 12 had transformed from a remote repair station into the most influential engineering center in known space. The station had expanded to 3 times its original size, with new hybrid technology docks extending like crystalline branches into the void. Sarah Chen stood in her newly constructed classroom, facing a group of students that included beings from 27 different species. "Engineering isn't about following rules," she began, holding up a simple wrench modified with quantum crystalline enhancements. "It's about understanding principles so well that you know exactly when and how to break them." The classroom itself exemplified this philosophy. Holographic displays merged with living crystal interfaces, while traditional mechanical tools sat comfortably beside technology that would have seemed magical 6 months ago. Every surface held the potential for learning, for innovation. Chief Chen, a quantum mind student, manifested, their energy form flickering with curiosity. "Our histories indicate that humans went from atmospheric flight to interstellar travel in less than 3 centuries. How did you advance so quickly?" Sarah smiled, remembering similar questions from her own academy days. "Because we never stopped being curious. Every human tool, from the first stone axe to our most advanced starships, came from asking, 'What if?'" The station's alert system chimed, a sound that now carried harmonics from the crystal technology they'd integrated. "Priority transmission from the Galactic Engineering Council," Raj's voice announced. The classroom's main display activated, showing a massive engineering project in distant space. A dying star was being transformed into a stable power source using techniques first developed at Omega 12. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists, their hybrid tools allowing them to manipulate forces that should have been beyond their control. "This is why we succeeded where others failed," Sarah explained to her students. "We never saw technology as something separate from ourselves. Every tool is an extension of its user. Every machine has the potential to evolve." Diego entered the classroom, carrying what looked like a primitive Earth microscope modified with quantum sensors. "The latest test results are in," he announced, his excitement palpable. "The hybrid drives we developed are showing 400% better efficiency than standard quantum engines." The students murmured in amazement, their various forms expressing wonder in unique ways. A hexapod engineer initiate raised multiple appendages. "But the theoretical limits are only limits if you accept them as absolute," Sarah finished. "Humanity's greatest contribution to galactic engineering isn't our technology, it's our perspective. We see possibilities where others see barriers." Through the classroom's viewport, they could see ships of all sizes and origins docked at Omega 12. Each vessel carried innovations developed through the merger of human ingenuity and alien technology. The crystal growths that had started with the Amaranth now spread throughout the station, creating a living network that enhanced everything it touched. "Your species has changed everything," a Meridian student observed, their energy patterns shifting thoughtfully. "Our most advanced AI systems still cannot replicate your intuitive understanding of technology." "Because you can't program intuition," Maya added, entering with a holographic display of their latest project. "You can't quantify creativity. The most powerful computer in the galaxy can't match a curious mind asking, 'Why not?'" Sarah nodded, watching as her students gathered around Maya's display. For millennia, galactic civilization advanced through careful, measured steps, each innovation building logically on the last. Humans, we look at a problem, and think of 17 different ways to solve it, most of them technically impossible. And then we try them anyway, Tom added with a grin, because nobody told us we couldn't. The station hummed with activity as hundreds of engineers, human and alien alike, worked on projects that would have been deemed impossible just months ago. The crystal technologies they'd learned from the Amaranth had spread throughout human space and beyond, but always modified, always improved by human creativity. The galaxy once saw us as primitive, Sarah concluded, looking out at the stars. Now they're learning that sometimes the most advanced approach is remembering how to think simply. Every human child who's ever taken apart a toy to see how it works carries the spirit that brought us to the stars. A new alert sounded. Another impossible repair request coming in. Sarah watched her students' eager reactions and felt pride swell in her chest. They weren't just learning to fix ships. They were learning to think like humans, to see problems as opportunities, to view limitations as challenges to overcome. The crystal growths throughout the station pulsed with energy, resonating with the combined knowledge and creativity of thousands of engineers working together. Omega 12 had become more than a repair station or even a school. It was a symbol of what was possible when human ingenuity met alien technology, a place where the impossible became routine, and where the future of galactic engineering was being rewritten one impossible solution at a time. As Sarah prepared to lead her students to their next challenge, she smiled at the thought of how far they'd come. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not by following the established path, but by blazing their own. And in doing so, they had taught the galaxy a vital lesson. Sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most sophisticated technology, but the one that never stops asking, what if?